Marc Graves with Courtyard Realty, where my job is to be your guide. And we're going to be talking today with the thoughts in mind of coming out of COVID-19, the Ygnacio Valley Community, and Marc Graves Perspective. So we'll jump right in. The market in the Ygnacio Valley Community and everywhere in the Bay Area that I'm aware of stayed incredibly strong through the last 95 plus days. The whole COVID since March 15th has been very much stronger than I even anticipated. And that's, when you get Marc Graves Perspective, you're getting a lot of other realtors that have had a lot of time and a lot of experience in our industry and do, quite frankly, a lot of business. So it's just not my perspective. My perspective is honed in with all of the help that I get from other people. And that's primarily what I do, is get a lot of help from other people. So again, super strong, surprising market. And everybody that I've talked to have an extensive background in money, banking, insurance, a lot of different money things to do with. So much has been flooded into our system. It's as if there's a racehorse in a gate, and the doors probably look like on July 1st are gonna open for that racehorse. And that's what it feels like to me and quite a few other people. And it's not just relying on a gut instinct. It's all the logistics that are already in place. So interest rates, I just saw another one today that was in the high 2s for a 30-year fixed conventional money. That's just extremely low. It's one of the lowest I've ever seen. And I've paid attention since I was in 7th grade. My parents had a real estate brokerage franchises before I ever was out of elementary school. So that's what we talked about around the dinner table. So as being only 29 years old, I still have the perspective from Carter era. So just kidding, I'm actually 31. Anyway, just almost all jokes aside, buyers are still coming. What I will say is that it seems like it weeded out some of the just shopping for fun, window shopping. Hey, let's go look at open houses today. That's not happening. But what is happening is that everybody that is wanting to buy seems like they're off the fence. People who thought, should I or shouldn't I? It just seems like the right time. Home prices have stabilized. They're really not going up dramatically right now. You do still see multiple bids. You know, one of the things I find is that once somebody wants something, everybody wants it. So if that's the new Corvette 2020, you can't get your hands on one. I've been trying. You can't get your hands on one to test drive. The dealers tell you that they have no idea when they're coming in. And the reason I bring that up is because I want one. Everybody wants one. As soon as you walk into a house, if you feel like you like it and it's hitting all your hot buttons, it's hitting everybody's hot buttons. We're all very, very similar. And so I think that's a really good idea for buyers to keep on their front burner of their forethought, because it makes sense. It's easy to understand. You walk into a house, you decide this is the one, you really like it. There are 10 people behind you who just did the same exact thing. They've seen probably all the same houses you have. They have a very similar perspective. And when one lands that strongly on you, believe it, it landed that strongly on all of the other people that came in, with a very few exceptions. So that's it for as far as the energy and the call to action, so to speak, that looks at from a buyer's perspective. From a seller's perspective, housing prices stayed strong all through COVID-19. I didn't see them go down anywhere. That's a tremendous thing. Who would have thought? Most people predicted a huge crash. A huge crash. Huge crashes come and go, and we recover, and fantastic recoveries come out of that. Look at 2007. What an incredible recovery that was started around 2010. Maybe 2011 is when it started to really get traction. And I would have never thought that we could have recovered that soon from such a dramatic suffering, and yet we did. So if it fits your family's lifestyle, that's a good indicator of whether or not you should move. And I don't mean just move from property to property, I mean move to action. Lending is getting incredibly easy. The programs that are out there are phenomenal. I could tell you numbers and this and that, but it gets a little tedious for, I think, people that are viewing. Just understand that my perspective in a big picture is that I've never seen less money down with lower interest rates. And qualifying doesn't seem to be out of the question either. So when you put all of those building blocks in a place, if moving into a home or taking some action into your thought process, you have a thought process, do you take action to get into it? I think yes. And I think that you don't need me really to tell you that. I think that the people that are in that pool are already acting. So great news for both people. The interest rates are so low that in my mind, it might be, maybe it's not good advice, but for me, anybody, I tell them you should borrow as much money as you feel possibly comfortable with right now. It's so, when you compare inflation rates and things of that nature with how available inexpensive money is currently, I think that on a very simplistic level, it's really something to consider taking advantage of. If I wasn't speaking to such a broad audience, I would say just go get as much of this free money as possible. I think it makes good economic sense. Rents are tremendous. Well, they're tremendous for the owners of the property. For people renting, it's a little bit uncomfortable, I suppose, because it's very, very high. The rental market is just booming. We have what's called a zero vacancy factor. And so that doesn't mean that there are no homes or no apartments or no condominiums to lease or rent. It just means that the available properties are so few that it almost registers zero. And so it's called a zero vacancy factor. I put a house up, I had 40 applicants at a case precedent rent in 24 hours. 24 hours after putting it on the market, I had 40 applicants, and 80% of them were all qualified and would have been a lovely tenant to have. As a property manager, that's something that I keep in mind. Not only are they prospective tenants, but they're tenants that would make the whole process of managing a property easier, because I don't anticipate a lot of unnecessary trouble from them. So those are some real highlights. I had a lot of coffee today, so I'm kind of spitting my numbers out there and my perspective kind of quick, and I don't have as many jokes as I normally do, but it's just exciting. I think that's probably the biggest deal, is I'm just really excited to be in the industry that's flourishing. I'm blessed beyond my wildest dreams. Had a fantastic walk at the Lafayette Reservoir yesterday, and I noticed that the interim parking is now open. That wasn't that way, I don't believe, last week when I was there. So just another thing that I noticed personally, an easing of the restrictions. A couple of weeks ago, I had a really fun dinner in Benicia, which is Solano County. I was able to eat inside, white tablecloths, beautiful sunset to watch, and everybody taking the necessary precautions. Table seating was separated so that you had the social distancing. All the wait staff and chefs and all of the bartenders and things all were masked, and we're being very conscientious of hygiene and such. So I don't think anybody, as far as me noticing, has really eased up on the precautions, but you are able to view homes. Most every realtor I see are leaving sterilized antibacterial wipes in the homes. They're wiping things down. I haven't seen anybody just leave a box of masks at the door yet, but there are lock boxes and you're able to view the properties. So I'm getting probably around 14, 16 showings a week on my average properties, getting a little bit more than that, not tremendous more on the areas that are faster moving, but as a broad across the board, around 2 showings a day on an average. So that's my perspective of coming out of COVID. COVID-19. We are resilient, evidently, more so than I would have imagined. When this first started, I was under the impression that we might have a 14-day period to basically be very concerned with. I surely anticipated that might have been a little Pollyanna, a little pie in the sky kind of, a little optimistic. And so I was easily prepared to have it go another 14 days. To be looking at July 1st now, there's a good chance that normally it would end or taper off in October.